We can get started. Let's start talking about these topics. I think there's actually a lot of really good topics in here. And I think that we can just kind of go from the top. I know that we had ad account bans. That's a pretty big one that a lot of people face. Jake, what are your thoughts on ad account bans?
So, I think there's like two sort of ways to approach if you're getting your ad account banned. Like, there's the white hat way, which is going to be like, all right, why is your account getting banned? Realistically, like, there's probably a reason. And then if we could fix that and get everything like I's dotted, T's crossed, like, let's get things legit, then you want to have a good standing relationship with Facebook. And I mean I know most brand owners who are running like super legit white hat brands, like doing everything the right way, like they once you get past a certain point, you don't really have as many ad account issues. And then there's like the black hat or like gray hat way, which is going to be like buying accounts and creating like ad account structures and like running through proxies and that sort of thing. I don't know much about that. There's probably people in here, like I know like Sleepy and Boba, and I know some guys in here are gonna have a lot more insights on like how to get that like the more gray hat, black hat sort of setup going. I can tell you from like my experience and like my sort of like insight is if you are getting banned constantly, it's because the AI is detecting a pattern of behavior that is indicating that you are a higher risk account. And Meta is using it's all AI. Like it's 100% AI. It's 100% looking for certain like patterns that they associate with high risk. So if you're running on a brand new ad account that just got fired up, like the age of your account is going to be one factor, right? And then like the type of products you're running is going to be another factor. The age of the domain that you're sending traffic to is going to be another factor. So if you have like a brand new domain that you just fired up like 3 days ago, and then you have a brand new ad account, brand new Facebook page, brand new everything, you're gonna be like under the strictest microscope from that AI. Where even like the slightest irregularity or the slightest thing, it's gonna get you banned. Um, so like if you're trying to do everything white hat and like let's just say for example's sake, you are trying to build a super legit brand like I's dotted, T's crossed, all custom content. You're not ripping anything. You're doing everything the right way. You just want to start a brand. Like what you're gonna want to do is probably just warm it up a little bit. Like create the Facebook account, start posting some organic. When you start your ad account, like don't go right into conversion metrics instantly. Start with like some reach or some awareness campaigns, things like that. Run it at like $5 a day. Get through some billing cycles, like make a few successful payments to Facebook. Start like building it up to where they are going to be looking at you as like somebody who is lower risk, right? Get some age under that account, that sort of thing. Like your landing page is important too. People often neglect this. Like they're like, "Oh, my ads are fine and my page is fine and everything's fine," but then their landing page might have things that are against terms or making strong claims or like whatever it may be. You have to realize the AI is also looking at your landing page. So if you're dealing with these bans and you're trying to do like white hat things, then I would suggest just trying to find like what it's detecting that it doesn't like, and then like things like having an LLC and then verifying your business manager are really really going to help as well. And then if it's not that, like if you are just sort of in this like cycle of where you're drop shipping, maybe you're like ripping content, like you're firing up these new products, new stores, testing constantly, and you're getting banned, like you may have to go down the route of like purchasing BMs and trying to create some sort of structure. So I don't know much about that, so I'll kind of pass it off there. Like I know that you can do that. I know there's people in this Discord that could provide more insights on that.
Yeah, I think that's great. I completely agree with everything you said. At the end of the day, guys, I think it's the biggest thing to consider here is Facebook is looking at all of this from a risk perspective. And if you, for any reason, give them any reason to believe that you're high risk, they're going to treat you as such, and so is absolutely every single processor that you're going to work with in the space. They have to protect their business. They have to protect the money that they lose when people run up ads and then don't ship, and then the chargebacks happen, and then a lot of customers have hesitations by default to buy off of Facebook just because of bad experiences that they've had. So Facebook needs to directly like fight that. Um, and the best way to approach it is to establish yourself as a legit business, communicate, be professional. That's how we've been able to get 100% of our assets back every time. But it doesn't mean it's like easy. It doesn't mean it's not going to be annoying to have a Facebook having your account get banned. Now you can't access ads for like 2 weeks while you're trying to get back and reaching out to support and like spamming them on every channel. Um, However, I have found that by building reputation on one account, whether that account you bought, whether that account is your grandma's account because your personals is banned, it doesn't matter. Just like building age on an account, and specifically an ad account, to have immense perks when you start spending millions of dollars with them, because they're going to give you a tailored service that doesn't exist anywhere else, that has direct that can benefit you from them being in that position, from them having more data than you have, for them being able to say, oh, well, this is the best bid that's performing for you based off of data that we see, on the inside. And it's like you don't really have that any other route that you take, which is why I've like kind of with every platform, we're really trying to build a relationship with them, and play it for the long run. I've definitely seen benefit there. But yeah, there's obviously I think a lot of people are in the situation where they've gotten banned a few times. They now need to continue to, either use business managers that they buy, ad accounts that they buy or rent. And there's a whole market for it. Like if you look at, there's all these different companies that provide these services, and it's great, and there's a whole ecosystem that exists. You're just playing, you're kind of walking on a tight rope, because you're then essentially you're evading them, and you're kind of going back and forth, and it's like a battle almost always.
It end up being like a death loop of like
Yeah, and
it's
it's
like I
yeah.
fire up an account, I get a good account, I run it for a while, it eventually gets banned, I'm back to square one. Now I have to find a new account. I have to run that one up. I finally get spend limits, whatever. I gotta get banned again, run it. Like you're just constantly battling them. I highly suggest, and like I guess for those of you who don't know me, you'll come to learn that I'm very much a big like supporter or proponent of just starting a super legit brand, doing everything white hat, like building the reputation on the platform, getting the LLC, like just doing everything the right way, because you're in the long run, right? And it's hard because I know a lot of people in here might be like 16, 17 years old, and it's hard to sort of like think with that level of like business maturity. But then me, I'm 27 and I've been doing this for a long time. So like I have done that, and then I've realized that it's like a never-ending cycle, and you're never going to be able to build a brand that you exit, that you make millions of dollars from. Like that's the goal, right? At least for me, is like I want to build a brand super legit. I want to build out my team. I want to get all the tools. I want to have my Amex card have hundreds of thousands of dollars of limit on it. I want my business line of credit on Facebook. I want Facebook to give me a line of credit for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like I want to be able to access these tools, build up the brand in a way where I can eventually exit it for a lot of money. In order to do that, you have to do things the right way. So if you're taking shortcuts and you're ripping content and you're running things that are super edgy, that are gray hat, that are whatever, like just know that you're gonna have to constantly play that game of like getting banned, trying to get new accounts, firing it back up, getting banned, getting new accounts, firing it back up. And like that's fine. But I think what you'll come to, at least from me, is I'm gonna give you from my perspective, and my perspective is that that's sort of like a short-term mindset. And it's better off like as soon as possible to start a brand that does things the right way, try to get in the good graces of all these platforms, and it's so much easier. Like, cause I've been on the other side of it. Like, I got banned. I've been drop shipping since 2018, and I got banned in 2020 when COVID happened and everybody was getting banned. And like just dealing with that, like going from doing like 50, 60K a month to doing zero, and then having to like figure out how to get back on these platforms was a nightmare. So yeah, so I recommend like trying to maybe shift your mindset a little bit if you are doing things that are like a little bit borderline.
Cool. Yeah, no, I think that's good. I think that's a good place to pin it. There's obviously a lot of other approaches here, especially with those that are going for the route of getting different accounts. And I think that having a separate live where maybe we have somebody who has experience with that, maybe Sleepy, one of these days we can, do that. You can
Oh,
give
yeah,
your
Boba.
experience. Boba's
I know
also
Boba.
has a lot of experience, I know, with that. And then we can, yeah, just shed light on that side as well. But cool. I know we have a lot of questions to get through, so I want to think we keep pacing along. Let's see what stands out to you, Jake, in terms of questions we have here.
Um, I know there was several questions about creating like SOPs and team. I know that was one, and then Cardi asked a question: how do you handle objections? Turn them into problems that can be talked about in ads. So handling objections and building out teams, I think, are two good ones.
Yeah, cool. Let's I'll touch on teams. This is a massive one, and there's a saying that I was told, um, which is a very true saying, and it's that you don't rise to the level of your goals, but you fall to the level of your systems, which emphasizes the importance of whatever you're trying to achieve with your business needs to be able to run essentially without you. Um, and that's important to create. Now, how does one approach creating that? Well, one needs to understand what that system is. One needs to go through that process. So let's just say that you're for the first time hiring a customer support agent. And that support agent needs to get back to all of your customers. They need to be checking DMs, whatever it may be. You need to establish what that person is going to be doing. You need to do it yourself and set those expectations. So whether that's you recording yourself, well, making a Loom video, responding to different tickets, right? And now you pass that down to that person, and they are now aware of how you respond to different tickets in different situations. Unless you do that, they're not going to know. They're not going to be able to have a place to reference that. Um, until you build a calendar where multiple times a week, that customer support agent is now checking, let's just say, socials, and then the rest of the week it's like every single day just replying back to emails. That needs to be, you need to think about it. You need to sit down and look at a calendar and be like, okay, what's going to be efficient so that this person can get back to all the customers. um, for video editing, you need to have a system that you can bring ideas into, where those ideas are then taken and content is sourced, where those ideas are taken and scripts are written and revised and voiced over, where those ideas are then taken and turned into ads that then need to get reviewed. These systems need to be able to breathe and exist, and you need to live through them in order to be able to create them. Okay, so what does that mean? That means you have to first be in the trenches. You need to be editing your content. You need to be running your ads. You need to be figuring out your fulfillment and how to optimize your store and increase your AOV and improve your LTV, and like all these things that like you're gonna need to do it so that you can establish systems in order for them to be able to continue to happen. Where should everybody start at what's taking up the most amount of your time, to where your time could be used better elsewhere. What does that mean? Well, that means if you're spending multiple hours a day on CS, you should hire a
Mm-hmm.
VA to take that time and spend that time and get back to those people. And then you can use that time to work on your business and to optimize it. Um, yeah, and this is a huge topic, but let me think what else is important to add here. Yeah, identify where are you spending, where are you currently spending the most time in the trenches, okay? Like actively doing stuff in the business, and then take those and hire for those first and build structure and systems for that person to be able to do that job by you showing them yourself doing it, okay? um, that's what needs to happen. And then you're gonna not have to reply to customers anymore, but you're still having to video edit. Great. Then you get a video editor to be doing the editing. And now you're just identifying creative concepts, working on higher level stuff, right? So you build it out based off of the growth that you're having with the business to optimize your time and to allow you to focus on building the business instead of working inside of the business. So that's how you should approach it. Hopefully that gives good like mental building blocks for you guys to think about.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add to that. Like you definitely the way that you have your systems is a lot more robust than mine currently. I guess I can give the insight of like somebody who's at like a maybe you're just hitting $1,000 days or like you're just starting to scale it up. The first thing that you should get rid of instantly is customer service. Like get rid of that. Like don't it drains your mental energy. It's not a good job to be doing. It's going to prevent you from doing things that are more important. So and that's really easy. Go get either like Reamaze or Rich Panel are the two that I would recommend. Get like a CS software. They're not that expensive. It's like 30 or 40 bucks a month per user. And it's going to create a ticketing system where all the tickets are going to come in, and then you can just have one or two reps in there just doing that all. You can create prompts and all the common questions. Like that's the first thing that I would get rid of. So if you're at that level, get rid of that instantly, and that's gonna free up so much time that you can go a long way just after getting rid of the CS.
Sweet.
I know some people that are doing like 100 $200,000 months that are still doing their CS, and I'm like, why why? What do you suggest again for CS VAs? I'll put it in here. Reamaze is the cheap one, and then Rich Panel also good.
We
Reamaze or
use a
Rich
rich
Panel.
panel. Yeah,
Yeah,
rich panel is good.
they're both pretty cheap and pretty good. All right, next questions. Kiro put in some good ones here. He summarized it all with GPT.
Oh.
Marketing and advertising, managing cash flow, onboarding creators.
Yeah, I mean these are all like we could get into all of these. These are all good.
With Meta continuously adjusting its algorithms, what are the most effective strategies to maintain visibility and engagements? I would say like for that one, it's a pretty quick answer. It's just literally just creative volume and creative diversity. So putting out like testing a lot of creatives, and that might mean something different for you to like to Alex, a lot of creatives might be a few hundred creatives a month. To me, a lot of creatives could be like 30 to 40 a month. To you maybe it's a little bit less. It depends what scale you're at. But the creative volume putting out consistent creatives and then creative diversity I think is the most important one, at least for me, that allowed me to scale a lot, was trying to hit every demographic. And one of the easiest ways to expand is just by hiring different demographics of creators. So let's just say your target audience is women between the ages of 25 and 65. Like go and find women that look different, that speak different, that have different skin tones, that have different accents, that have just like the more different that they are, the better. And then try to create different styles of content. Have some content that's like super short form, 10, 15 seconds, no voiceover, text on screen, like super quick, snappy, organic style. Have some that are more like explainer style. If you have a product that solves a problem, like really go in depth as to like how it solves that problem. And I think mainly what you're trying to do is you're trying to create pieces of content that that many different people will be able to relate to, and then also create different type of content that will hit every stage of the funnel. So you'll have content that with 10 different creators hitting top of funnel, content with 10 different creators hitting middle funnel, content with 10 different creators hitting bottom funnel. And what you're doing is you're creating like a lot of variables for Facebook's algorithm to match people with, right? So it's like this 38-year-old woman who is a certain ethnicity might only react to 15-second long videos of people of her own ethnicity. But then maybe somebody else is somebody who's going to watch that 30 or 40-second video, and you know, they have a history of watching longer content. So what you have to realize is like everybody's For You page is different. Like your For You page is going to be very different than somebody else's For You page because people consume content in different ways. So if you can create a very diverse and a large quantity of content, then you're creating the best odds of having pieces of content that will work for everybody. And Facebook's very good at like taking the content and then matching it to that person at the right time, the right place, you know, in creating that funnel. So that would be how I would approach that.
I think that's spot on. I agree. That I think ties into a few of these questions here. I mean, like, how do you get more profitable? How do you build more consistency? Unlocking new angles, unlocking new creative that works.
You'd be surprised just literally how far it can go. Like I'll see people and they're like I ran 5 pieces of UGC and I didn't get any sales, and like all 5 are like the same exact avatar. It's like a 30-year-old white girl, for example. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, you're only appealing to a very specific audience with that piece of content. And then maybe even deeper, it's like it's all, you know, 30-year-old white girls, and then it's all like 15 to 20-second like certain style of content. So now you're just putting yourself in a box. Like if you can expand that, you're going to hit more people in different ways. That's going to be like an instant, like I think you're going to notice that instantly. Like you're going to put in, all of a sudden you're going to work with a very different type of creator, create a very different style of content, especially if you're running like a CBO or something. It's just going to start taking spend, and you're going to be like, oh wow, like I'm hitting a whole new audience here. And that's something that every business can improve on too. Like that's something that I could improve on. Like you know, I'm outputting like 30 to 40 pieces of content a month right now. So ideally I can pump those numbers up to like 100 plus, and working with lots of different types of creators. One thing that I've done recently that's helped a lot is I onboarded onto a influencer platform. I'm using Influi. There's also Incense and there's some other ones. It makes it a bit easier to sort of like source content. It's a little more pricey than doing it manually, I would say, but for scalability, it's nice.
It's worth it. I would say that you can just sort through and have
Mm-hmm.
like an index of creators that exist with samples of their work all in one space to view. It allows for that to be systemized now with a team member in your team
Mm-hmm.
running the creative coordination, makes their job a lot easier and a lot more like streamlined. So they kind of bring that utility. I think that kind of naturally fits with a lot of teams, which makes which makes it more efficient, which I think pays for itself.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like I worked with 15 creators this month so far, just like UGC like paid, not like organic and like free product and stuff like that. But and like definitely all the content, I would say out of the 15 that I work with, um all the ones that came from Influi were the best. I don't know. I think maybe because they're on that platform, like they are a little bit more vetted. Like they're more serious. I don't know. Sometimes the ones that I get from Instagram or wherever, like it's a little bit hard. Like they're just not as good. So yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
I think I had a higher hit rate on my Influi content this month. I got 10 from Influi, and then I got 5 outside of Influi, and I think they were a little bit better too.
Yeah. I like this is a question that Sleepy asked. I think it ties in. What's your way on onboarding a creator? What do you think is ideal rate? How much content they need to produce? What type of concepts do you get them to do? Is there a specific template you follow? So it's a lot of questions, but I think they all tie into exactly this topic. So I think we can tie into that. I'm gonna share my screen here, and we're gonna do something together. So I think you guys should be able to see. Yeah, you should be able to see this. So the first thing you want to do before you source any content is ask yourself like what is the purpose, right? Why are you sourcing it? It's the first thing you want to ask. Like, what is the purpose of this? Now, when you're approaching getting content from creators, I would say the number one thing, so number one thing you should source is B-roll. Okay? So, the number one thing you should source is is this creator doing things with the product, okay? Putting the product on, going outside and walking with the product, applying it, opening it, using it, visually showing the product being used in different ways that can allow you to narrate stories. All right? That paying for that, you can actually get a really good bang for your buck. So this is what we do. We like to get like 20, 30 pieces of B-roll, all right? So like 20 to 30 pieces of B-roll, and this will vary from project to project, but 20 to 30 pieces of B-roll that we will typically source for anywhere from 150 to usually not more than like $200. Okay? So this is a package where we're approaching the creator and we're saying like, "Hey, this is what we're looking to get from you. This is the project budget." Now, for $200 for them to spend even a couple hours to do is not a bad deal, right? So a lot of the time, you'll get creators that will apply in this range, and you will be able to get a good amount of content, like 20 to 30 shots that you can really build stories with a narrative for a couple $100. So that's like how we like to approach it. And then concept wise, we identify what is the B-roll we need for these concepts, and that's what we request. And you do it ahead of time enough so you have the shots in time so that you can edit them and then run them for, let's just say, Valentine's Day. So we were sourcing, this is something the premium guys would know, we talked about, we were sourcing back in December content that we're scaling now for Valentine's Day. So you just plan ahead, identify what are the pieces that you need to make your concepts come to life, and then source those pieces from different creators. And do it in a bulk manner so that you can just get the best bang for your buck. Those are my thoughts. Jake, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Planning out like what kind of content you want, as far as like making sure that you get the deliverables that you actually want, because what you'll find when you start working with creators is that a lot of times, am I frozen for everybody, or am I good?
You're good for me.
Okay. Sleepy might just be you. But what you'll find is that a lot of times it's not that good of content, and like some creators are just more talented than others, and that's just like it's part of the numbers game. Like the more content you source, the higher the chance of getting good content. And I'll speak to people too as, "Oh, I tried UGC, it didn't work." Well, the creators that you worked with probably just weren't that good. So that's like one thing is just numbers, volume, but then giving them a good creative brief. And like if you don't have ChatGPT, that's something ChatGPT could really help with. Like coming up with a really good creative brief. Like tell them what you want. Tell them like what kind of shots you want, what kind of backgrounds you want them in. Like because if you don't tell them, then it's going to be random. Like let's just say you're running a product. Let's say you're running an electric toothbrush, and then they open your thing and they're using it and it's like not in the bathroom, and you're like, well, why would you not do it in the bathroom? You'd be surprised how many creators will get that, and they'll like record a video of them brushing their teeth in the living room, and it's just like it's not what you want. So make sure, I want really good lighting, I want it in the bathroom, I want some clips shooting from the left, I want some clips shooting from the right, I want some clips shooting from straight on. And then even better than that, if you can combine that with examples, like so if you can send them a little link to a Google Drive, and then you have all the types of clips that you want them to recreate, that's gonna make like your hit rate much higher. So it's like you're making it very easy for them. So I would say when you're working with creators, give them a really good brief. This is something that I've learned over time. Like I put together a good brief. I will give them example scripts. I will give them example videos. And now when I get content, like my hit rate is much higher. I'm not wasting as much money on bad content. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is, depending on the type of product that you're running, like I try to mostly source B-roll, like Alex was saying. Like I don't necessarily want too many clips of them talking into the camera, because if they're talking directly into the camera, it's very hard to reuse that content, right? And like it can be good for storytelling, like talking to the camera, but I don't want a whole video of them just talking to the camera with the product in their hand. Like that does nothing for me because I can't reuse that. So it's like if that video doesn't hit, that piece of content is worthless. You know, there's nothing that you can reuse. So I try to at least source, you know, if they put one or two clips talking to the camera, that's fine. But I want at least like 20 to 30 seconds of quality B-roll of them using the product. So that way I can then take that, I can go to 11 Labs, I can create AI voiceovers, I can overlay other voiceovers, I can do whatever I want with that content to repurpose it. I have an entire Google Drive, which is something that you guys should all start getting in the habit of doing if you don't already have this set up. Organize all your content. Like this is gonna be important too. This ties back into when you start hiring people and building out your teams. Like if your content isn't organized, how are you gonna hire video editors to like make videos for you, right? Like it needs to all be in one place. So organize all your raw UGC, organize all your B-roll. You could even break it down a step further, organize it by like the type of shot that it is. Um, Put it all in a Google Drive. You have all that content, like you have that forever. You can reuse that in as many ways as you want. And like over time, you start to have like, 100 or 200 pieces of content in your Google Drive. That old content can sometimes become relevant again because you haven't ran it in so long. So I'm sure Alex is the same way. Like I have pieces of content that I've been running for a year on my brand, and it's still working. So make sure you're getting content that you can repurpose and reuse. I've seen people get too much talking into camera B-roll or too much talking into camera footage, and like, oh, my UGC doesn't work, and it's like it's just not good content, and then it's not reusable. So those are my 2 points on that.
Yeah, I agree. It's quite difficult for a creator to make a very good piece of content where they're speaking to the camera and like talking about the product. They need to be a good actor if they do that
Mm-hmm.
properly, right? So if you hire actors, you can get good results from that. However, if they're not a good actor, it's going to seem forced and it's going to seem like they have a gun to their head and they need to read a script for an ad. And that then sounds like an ad and people scroll because they don't like ads, right? So yeah, like that's how we've been really over the last couple of years just striving away from that type of content where they speak to the camera. And if we do, it's like for a reason, for purpose, for
Yeah.
saying it looks exactly like my dog, or like, oh my god, or like my Black Friday sale is here, so it's like keywords, sure, but we really have just strayed away from like that, like actual scripts, having them read, because dude, they were all so bad. And we
So
just,
bad.
yeah,
You know where I've seen really good, like, because I've seen somewhere, and it can achieve something that the other type of content can't, which is the storytelling aspect and the authenticity. Where I've seen it do really, really well is TikTok Shop. Like those TikTok Shop ads where it's like some crazy story about some girl telling the story, and then it ties back into something that you never would have thought, and like it has 4 million views or something like that. I think that can work well, like Alex was saying, if the creator is like a natural really talented content creator. So I guess you have to use your judgment. Like if you find somebody that you're like this, she's gonna crush or he's gonna crush because they have this whole catalog of telling these amazing stories, then you could definitely test that style of content out. Or like Alex was saying, if it's like one clip where it's like, for Alex's sake, where it's like, oh my god, it looks just like him. Like, one little clip like that where it's you can just take that clip, interject it into any video. It's still reusable. So those are
exactly.
some tips for UGC because you can waste a lot of money on UGC. It's expensive. And oh, somebody asked how much should you pay? Um, I I kind of make it a note like I don't pay more than $100 personally. Like I just refuse. And if I am gonna pay more than $100, it's gonna be for a lot of deliverables. It's gonna be for like over a minute of B-roll, maybe some images too, maybe some hook variations or something like that. So that's one thing. And like there's so many creators out there that you just sort of have to go through it. this is where like a marketplace like Fiverr or Upwork or Influy or Incense can help, because the pricing is a bit more transparent. It's like you can just choose to work with the creators that are in your budget, instead of like going through these negotiations and they're like, oh, I want $500 plus unlimited plus 1 month of usage rights. Like no. So I would stay
Yeah.
away from that. It can be a little overwhelming when you start to talk to creators. I know Elia has some strong opinions on creators overcharging.
Yeah. Anybody that wants usage rights,
Yeah,
tell
just
them,
don't. If they
adios.
want usage rights, don't work with them. And you can
Yeah.
just tell them honestly, be like, hey, like I like your work, but we don't work with creators who want usage rights. Thank you. If you ever change your mind, we'll be here. Like, you don't have to like, yeah, you don't have to like go crazy or anything.
Yeah, I'm just looking through our incense campaigns. We don't pay more than 250 per like big project.
Mhm.
So I would say that's our kind of cap. And that
Usually if
250
it's
would
75 to 100, I can usually get 30-second video with like mostly B-roll. So I'm getting like 30 seconds of good B-roll for like 75 to $100.
mhm. Cool. Yeah, I think that's we think we touched a bunch on this. I think this is a good topic.
Scaling and growth. Oh, we kind of touched on that.
This is a
Any
this
other
is
questions?
this is a good question here. How did you guys go about networking, and do you have mentors? You want to go first on that one, Jake?
Yeah, like networking, I would say, I mean, you're in the right place if you want to tap into a network. Like, Discords are definitely, in my opinion, some of the best ways to network. Like, when I joined Alex's community, I was just a member, and then I just started chatting with him and then jumping in the chats and sharing advice and insights and whatever. And, like, usually networks are created through authenticity. Like, you can't really force it. You just have to, like, provide value and just be genuine. And then, like, you'll start to create networks. As far as mentors, I feel like I've had a lot of mentors. Like, obviously here in Alex's community, Alex has been helpful in a lot of ways. I've had like numerous people over the years that I've spoken to, like IRL and through Discords and YouTubes and whatever. I think it's really important to, like, you don't necessarily have to learn from your own mistakes. You can learn from other people's mistakes too, and like being in a good community is really important. I would say one thing about this community that's a little bit different than other communities, and why I sort of became more involved, is I feel like the people in here tend to be a little bit more like genuine and a little bit more real. Like, I know personally, because I've spoken to many people here, like there's a lot of people in here doing some like really good numbers, some really cool things. And it's not just trying to sell you something. It's like there's people in here that genuinely want to help. So I'd say if you get involved in communities like that and then just be authentic and genuine, like you can start to build a network over time. Like, it just takes a little time.
I think that's spot on. Time is the key there. So you can't rush relationships. Like relationships come through experience. Experience comes with spending time doing things with said person. So just positioning yourself, whether it's you can network everywhere. Like we're in a crazy internet age where you have access. Like you literally have access to the owners and the founders of a lot of the products that you use, of a lot of the things that you see, like a drink, right? Like you can reach out to these people. They exist. They are in certain communities, Twitter, LinkedIn. You go through groups like this. There's different Discord groups. There's Telegram groups. Like there's so many different communities and groups that exist for the reason of collaboration and growth, right? So you want to seek where are the people going to be that you're trying to, like, okay, who do you look up to, right? Okay, maybe you look up to somebody who has multiple businesses, exited a few of them, has a house and a family, and they live nicely. He still works. He hits the gym. He's buff. Whatever. Great. What is his, like? Where is he hanging out in? right? Like that's like great. You can position yourself through relationships, through spending time with people, through interacting and attempting to provide value, not being annoying. Don't be annoying and don't ask a bunch of stupid questions. Ask intelligent questions. Ask smart questions. I'll tell you what, if you have any I'm willing to bet that 99.9% of entrepreneurs who have been through it, like been through the trenches of figuring shit out and the trial and error and the difficulty of it, most of them have a very deep respect for others that are doing the same thing because it's tough and it's difficult and it takes grit. And if you approach somebody and you showcase to them that you have like that grit and that you're persistent and that you want to learn, and you come and you ask intelligent questions, they're going to invest time into you. And they're not, a lot of the time they're going to invest time just because they want to pass, like it's passing down value to a younger version of themselves that they see, like straight up. And it's like they pass it down willingly. And it's an opportunity for collaboration, because you can collaborate back and forth, and you can, pass ideas to them. They pass ideas back to you, and they might be 50 steps ahead of you. They might be in that position that you want to be in one day, and you can still have that relationship, which can elevate you to that, which can allow you to learn. So my view on mentors, on communities, groups, on learning, education, is that find people that are doing what you're trying to do. Find people that are in the trenches and that are actively pursuing what you're trying to pursue, and speak with them, learn from them, collaborate with them. And that will over time lead to relationships with them, which will over time be like, hey, you guys want to go to vacation in Bali for a week? Great. You get a bunch of high level entrepreneurs. Now you guys all go fly out. Now you're networking, IRL with them. So that's the process, and it's not like you don't really speed it up. It's more so something that builds over time with your desire to build it.
W answer. You guys have any more questions? I did maybe want to touch on something that some of you might get benefit from, which is like how to transition. And we'll probably do a whole live on this at some point, and then record it and upload it as a video, but like how to transition from drop shipping to like branded drop shipping to full on brand. So if there's any of you that want to, let me know if there's a number of you in here that want to talk about that for a couple minutes. If not, then we'll just save it for another video.
It is a good topic.
We'll probably do another video on it anyways. All right. So, yeah, so a lot of you probably are just starting with drop shipping, right? Like it's just, you found some product on AliExpress, you're just running it up. Maybe you're just pulling some ads off TikTok Shop or whatever, right? Like very, very like no barrier to entry drop shipping. Which is fine because you're going to start building up some skills, and like you're going to start learning like the basics and whatever. But the ideal goal is to move it into the next step, which I would consider like branded drop shipping. And then move into the next step where like you're a full on brand, making custom products, owning your own IP, that sort of thing. So the key is, I think, that most people are going to want to follow is find a product that is evergreen, that has good margins, that has brand potential, right? And by brand potential, I just mean something that can like stand the test of time, like not like a gimmick product, not something that's like super seasonal, like you can only sell it during Christmas or whatever. Like something that you can actually build a brand around, and then launch like horizontally like new products around that, and start to really like build a nice little collection. And what you're going to want to do is validate the idea, right? So you can run some ads, get it going, and right away, like people have this misconception when you're testing and you're fully drop shipping, like there's ways you can make it look more branded. Like, and I think this is a big reason why people also struggle at the beginning too, is because I'll look at their sites and their ads and stuff, and it just looks very drop shippy. Like it looks like like quite frankly, it looks like a scam. So I would study some other brands. Like just because you're not actually branded yet doesn't mean that you can't make your website look like a brand. Honestly, if you want to like play that line, like you could Photoshop your logo onto the box. You could order maybe just like one box and then do a couple of do some shoots with the branded box. You can there's ways you can do it too, where even just in your product images, like you could put your logo in the corner and like using a synergy of colors, right? Like having a palette that you use across your entire brand. Like so you're from your social media to your website to your checkout to your email flows to everything, it's like a certain color palette. Like those are the things that brands do. So right away, even when you're just very very early on drop shipping, it doesn't have to look like you just copy and pasted from AliExpress. Like if you're doing that, you're not going to have success. You need to make it look as much like a brand as possible straight away. And then as soon as you start to validate that product, as soon as you start to get like, let's say you get like 10 sales a day and you are experiencing some profit, you go and you put your logo on the box. Like as soon as you have enough cash flow to do it, put your logo on the box, go to the supplier, say you don't even have to put your logo on the product, just put the logo on the box. And now you're branded drop shipping. Some agents will do that for you and allow you to continue drop shipping like per order. Some you might either have to prepay for the boxes or prepay for the products in general. But if you're shipping out of China, you can usually get very low MOQ. Like you can usually do like 100 units MOQ. So as soon as you save up enough money to where you can order the MOQ, move into that. And now when you're sending to your creators, they're showing B-roll with the custom packaging. You have custom inserts. Your all your reviews when customers are leaving you reviews, it's all showing your boxes and your packaging. Like it's the little nuances and the little details, and that's going to help your conversion rate. It's going to help with repeat customers. It's going to take you just to like one step above. And then as soon as you're doing that for a while, you're going to want to start launching custom products. Like can you go to your supplier and can you say, our customers are complaining about this one aspect of the product. We need to make this better. Can you improve on the product? Can you start to launch other products? Like, you know what? A lot of customers want this. Maybe we need to launch something else that goes hand in hand with the products that I'm selling. Now you can work directly with your supplier to create new products and to launch those products under your brand. That's when I would consider like you're a full brand. Start securing your IP, right? Get your trademarks. If you create new products, get patents, that sort of thing. Like I said, I think we're gonna do a full, like a longer video on this, but I think that's the direction when you guys especially are choosing products and when you're starting with at like the lowest level of drop shipping, don't just sit there and have the mindset of like, I'm just gonna run this little thing up and I'm gonna get some cash and then I'm gonna whatever. Like, no, that's not the way you should be looking at it. You should be looking at it as how can I take this, validate the concept, and then move it to the next stage, which is gonna be branded. How do I turn this into a brand? Like have maybe like a 1 year or a 2 year mindset versus like a 1 month or a 2 month mindset.
I couldn't have said it better, dude.
What's good, Boba? Yeah, Boba might be able to drop some resources for those of you wondering about ad accounts like BMs and stuff like that.
Cool. Let's see. Any last questions, Jake, that stand out to you?
No, like I said, I'm gonna definitely probably do a fuller breakdown on that, how to go from drop shipping to like full on brand, because that's kind of like I guess like my path and expertise. Yeah, I think we touched on a lot of stuff. If anybody else has any questions
Sweet.
before we wrap it up.
Yeah, one thing everybody should make sure to do is to turn on the notifications for this Discord for the at everyone. We're going to be doing more frequent lives that are here in the public stage. Um, and we'll give a few heads up about them, but if you miss them, you're going to miss them. Some of them will record and push to YouTube. Some will be pushed to ecom live, and some will be just for those that have the notifications on. So Cool. I think we're good.
Sweet.
This
Yeah,
was
it
good.
was nice talking to everybody that I haven't met before. To everybody that I know, what's good? We'll catch you later in the premium and the deep work. Another thing too, I guess a last note is if you guys aren't in the premium, we do like this, but it's a little bit more casual, I would say. Like every day there's people just chopping it up in the deep work chat, like, problem solving, working on things. I think anybody in here who's in the premium can attest to how valuable it is. So, not to be too salesy or anything like that, but you should definitely consider it. But like Alex said, I think it's going to be at least 2 or 3 times a week
Yep.
running here on the free stage. So, a lot of value to be had here as well.
Cool. Stay tuned, everybody. Appreciate you all hopping in on the live. I think this was super saucy. Thank you, Jake, for hosting.
Sounds good. Catch everyone later.
Take it easy.